What if Switzerland, this small country of watches, cheese, and banks, suddenly won both world wars? Yes, I know, it sounds like a joke. Imagine the Swiss, who have avoided any conflict for centuries, suddenly taking up not only their famous army knives, but also an entire army to reshape Europe. It's a paradox, isn't it? We used to think of Switzerland as eternal neutrality, where even in World War II they just sat in the Alps, watching everyone else fight, and maybe secretly calculating how much gold they could hide in their banks. But let's be serious. What would have happened if Switzerland had not just defended its borders, but had gone to the battlefield and won? Would we still be eating Swiss chocolate, but to the anthem of a new European empire? Or would the Alps have become not only a tourist paradise, but also a strategic center of the New World? The irony is that perhaps instead of the Treaty of Versailles, we would have had the Zurich Pact, where all countries would have agreed over a piece of fondue, not at the negotiating table. This topic is a real find for those who like to think about how one change can turn history upside down. We will plunge into an alternative world where Switzerland, this safe haven, suddenly becomes a major player on the world stage. How would Europe change? What would happen to technology, culture, and even our everyday habits? I'm going to tell you this story as if we were sitting over a cup of coffee, laughing at the curiosities of the past and wondering how close we could have been to a completely different present. So get ready. There is a story ahead that is hard to put down. Are you ready to imagine a world where Switzerland rules Europe? So, let's imagine that Switzerland won both world wars. In real history, Switzerland remained neutral, using its Alps as a natural defense and diplomacy as a weapon. But what if things had gone differently? Let's go back to 1914, when the First World War began, and see how a small country could have changed the course of history. The First World War. Switzerland enters the game. In 1914, Europe was on fire. Germany, Austria, Hungary, France, and Britain are all embroiled in conflict. Switzerland, usually neutral, suddenly decides that sitting on the sidelines is no longer an option. Why? Perhaps Germany violated their border by trying to bypass France through the Alps, and the Swiss, known for their precision, decided that this was too much. Or maybe they saw a chance to expand their influence, because war is chaos, and chaos is the perfect time for those who know how to plan. Switzerland mobilizes its army, which, despite its small size, was one of the best trained in Europe. Thanks to the Alps, they have a strategic advantage. The Germans and French, trying to break through the mountains, are mired in snow, and the Swiss, knowing every pass, launch lightning attacks. Imagine, a German general planning a quick offensive receives a report that his troops have been defeated by a detachment of Swiss riflemen, who have also left a note on the battlefield. Thank you for your visit, but we like peace. By 1916, Switzerland was not only defending its borders, but also seizing borderlands, part of Bavaria, Savoy in France, and South Tyrol in Austria-Hungary. Their economy, which does not depend on military chaos, allows them to finance the army, and banks in Zurich become a financial center for the warring countries. In 1918, when all parties are exhausted, Switzerland dictates the terms of peace, the Zurich Pact. Germany and France agree because they have no strength to resist, while Britain, sitting across the English Channel, just sighs. Well, let the Swiss rule, as long as our tea is safe. The interwar period. Switzerland as a new power. After the war, Switzerland became a new power in Europe. Their territories expand and their economy flourishes. Watches, chocolate, banks. All of these become symbols of the Swiss order. They don't create an empire in the classical sense, but they establish control through economics and diplomacy. Imagine, in the 1920s, it was fashionable to wear Swiss watches in Paris, and in Berlin, politicians cited the Swiss model as an example of stability. It is ironic that Germany, which lost the war, now buys cheese and chocolate from Switzerland to cheer up. But not everything is so smooth. Switzerland, which used to be neutral, now has to balance between new allies and enemies. France and Germany, although they have signed a peace, secretly dream of revenge. At the same time, Switzerland was investing in technology. Their engineers who used to make watches were now developing new types of weapons and transportation systems. Imagine, in the 1930s, the Swiss launched Europe's first high-speed railroad, connecting Zurich with new territories. And in Geneva, the League of Swiss Nations opens. an alternative to the League of Nations, where all decisions are made over a piece of fondue. World War II. Switzerland wins again. When World War II begins in 1939, Switzerland is ready. Hitler, who respected their neutrality in real history, sees Switzerland as a threat in our story. He decides to take over the Alps to secure the southern front, but this becomes his biggest mistake. The Swiss, who had perfected their army over 20 years, once again used the mountains as a fortress. Their new tanks, designed around clockwork, prove unexpectedly effective. Small but precise, they are ideal for mountain warfare. By 1942, Switzerland not only repels the German offensive, but also launches a counteroffensive. They capture southern Germany, Austria, and part of Italy. The Allies, the United States and Britain, are surprised but decide to support Switzerland as it becomes a key player against the Nazis. In 1945, the war ends, and once again, Switzerland dictates the terms of peace. Imagine, Hitler, who dreamed of a millennial Reich, is forced to sign the surrender in Zurich, and the Swiss politely offer him a chocolate bar as a souvenir. After the war, Switzerland as a world leader. After the Second World War, Switzerland became not just a European, but a global power. Their economy dominated. Banks in Zurich controlled Europe's finances, and Swiss technology set the tone. In the 1950s, they were the first to launch a satellite, as their engineers, who once made watches, now created precision mechanisms for space. It is ironic that the US and the USSR, which in real history competed in the space race, are now buying technology from Switzerland to keep up. Culture is also changing. Swiss traditions are becoming fashionable. In the 1960s, everyone in New York eats fondue, and in Tokyo, they sing yodeling. Hollywood makes movies about the heroic Swiss who won wars, although directors add a little drama because real Swiss people are too boring for blockbusters. But there is also a dark side. Switzerland, which used to be a symbol of democracy, is becoming more authoritarian because control over Europe requires a strong hand. A Swiss council is being created in Geneva to decide the fate of the continent, and not everyone likes it. The present day, Switzerland in 2025. Let's move to the year 2025 of our alternative world. Switzerland is a superpower that controls Europe economically and politically. Zurich is the financial capital of the world, and Geneva is the political capital. The Alps have become a tourist center, but also a military base. The Swiss have developed technologies that allow them to monitor the entire continent from the mountaintops. Imagine, in London, people drink coffee with Swiss chocolate, and in Paris, it's fashionable to wear clothes with Alps-style embroidery. But not everything is so perfect. Resistance is growing in France and Germany. People are tired of the Swiss order and dream of freedom. At the same time, Switzerland is investing in environmental technologies because the Alps are their treasure that they want to preserve. In 2025, they become a leader in the fight against climate change, but their authoritarian style provokes protests. It is ironic that a country that was once a symbol of peace is now forced to hold Europe with an iron fist to keep power. So we have reached the end of our journey through the world, where Switzerland won both world wars. What do we have here? A Europe ruled by a small country that was once just a dot on a tourist map. Switzerland, which defeated Germany and France, would become a superpower. But at what cost? Their watches and chocolate would take over the world, and the Alps would become not only a symbol of beauty, but also of power. Imagine, in 2025, we would all be eating fondue for breakfast, listening to yodeling on headphones, and perhaps complaining that the Swiss have raised the price of their chocolate again. It's ironic that we often think of big empires like Britain or Russia, but what if history had been reshaped by little Switzerland? We get annoyed when the clock is a minute late, but in this world, all of Europe would live on Swiss time, both literally and figuratively. This story makes us think about how fragile our world is. One change and we could live in a completely different reality, where instead of Hollywood, we would watch movies about heroes of the Alps, and instead of rock and roll, we would dance to Alpine motifs. But perhaps we were lucky that Switzerland remained neutral. Their victory could have made the world more accurate, but would we have been happier under their rule? It's a question worth pondering over a cup of coffee, or better yet, a slice of Swiss cheese. If you enjoyed pondering such what-ifs, please like this post. It's a signal that we're on the right track. Subscribe, because there are many more stories ahead where we will turn the past upside down. Let's figure out together how history would have turned out and laugh at how ridiculous it might have looked. See you soon, friends, and don't miss your alpine adventure. Who knows where it will lead you?